Hi, good morning, Knicks fans. Thank you guys for tuning in once again. If you guys like the video, please give me a thumbs up and also subscribe. I'm coming to you guys today because of all the news around Frank Ntilikina and DSJ. And, there's been a lot of debate about whether Frank is good or not. He's a very polarizing player on the New York Knicks. And so it really got me thinking, like, it's Frank really as good as some Knicks fans claim he is? I'm actually one of those Knicks fans that actually really claim that Frank is a very good ball player, and he's one of those he's a championship piece. He's a piece that's on a he's a good piece on a championship team. That's a better way to say it, I guess. And kind of embarrassing to say, but I guess I am one of those Frank stands, right? And so, but with all the news that came out today, and then also given the fact that, like, Thibodeau haven't even bothered playing him at the point guard position at all. He probably got like maybe two possessions, maybe like in game two, I think, at the point guard position, and Thibodeau quickly did, noticed he didn't like what he was seeing, and switched over very quickly to I can't remember if we switched. I think he might have switched over to quickly and had quickly run the point. So there's something there. Obviously, there's something there. These coaches are seeing that the fans are not seeing. At least the Frank fans anyway, and I'm one of those included. I think I started seeing a little bit more of it actually this preseason. The one thing I definitely noticed was, as I said, the game where they brought him in to play point guard position, but I think he only played it for like maybe one or two possessions, and then they had quickly run the point from that point on. Some of the things I'm starting to think about was maybe he's obviously not doing what the coaches want him to do, and that can be extremely frustrating. And so the reason why it's not jiving is we see him being able to make really smart reads, and he's able to create these really nice angles and make some really nice passes, especially in the lane. And so the talent is there, but I don't think is really translating because it doesn't seem like he's doing exactly what the coaches want him to do. And then on top of that, also he does struggle with his ball handling. So that's definitely a big part of it as well. So that said, today the news came out that they didn't give an extension. There wasn't an extension offered to Frank and DSJ. At least not that we know of. Maybe it was offered and they just declined to sign it. Who knows? But what we heard was there was not a they didn't. Frank and DSJ just didn't sign an extension, and so it calls me to say, okay, I really need to look up you know Frank stats at least for 2019 and 2020 to see whether or not he truly, at least if the numbers kind of if the numbers implicate or say or even suggest that he's having an impact on the Knicks in a positive way. And it's something that's a little difficult to figure out because I know the plus minus is one of the gauges that the league uses, but that one could be a little funny too. The plus minus could also because Frank hasn't been starting mostly, and so a lot of times when he does come in a game, he comes in a game normally when the other team's bench players are in a game, and so a lot of times, the bench players, especially if that team has a big lead on us and the bench players come in and they don't keep up the same intensity, or even if it's the same starting lineup and they just kind of take their foot off the gas a little bit, and Frank comes in the game and takes advantage of the fact that there's a big lead and the other team took the foot off the gas or didn't maintain intensity, and so okay, the team he's on a court with at that moment can take advantage of that, and so that can kind of like influence his plus minus and make him seem a lot better than he really is. The other thing we have to keep in mind too, like I said, plus minus also has a lot to do with the other players on the court, and so it may just be like that team as a whole plays, on the court, they play very well together. Which, if he's a part of that, it shows that he is having a positive impact. But the plus minus, I'm not sure if that's like a good enough read on how much of an impact he's having on the team and the team's ability to win ball games. And so to do that, I decided to basically pull Frank's minutes, and also I pulled the Knicks, uh, pulled their differential, the point differential in every game that they played in 2019 2020 season. And so everything, essentially made sure everything lined up. And so what I did was I graphed it. So I took, like I said, this is what you see on the screen here is essentially it's a schedule that shows all the games that the Knicks played. Um, Column B basically shows you the team we played against. Column C basically shows you the point differential. And so if it's 5, that means we won the game and we won by 5 points. When it's minus, the next one says -7, that means we lost the game and we lost by 7 points. And then the fourth column, column D, is Frank's minutes, the number of minutes he played in these games. And so what I did was I decided to plot all these numbers on a graph to see, does it show something? Is there a pattern, something that you can see that says, okay, there's something here. That looks like there's a relationship between Frank's minutes and the team's point differential. And so, if Frank really was, did have an impact on on the team's ability to win, if he was really a winning player, um, we would be able to see as his minutes went up, at least you will see the point differential should sort of dwindle. Not necessarily say that, like, it may not impact our ability to win the game because he's only one player. He's a very limited player. We can agree on that, but at least we should be able to see. Um, I think we should be able to see some kind of impact on the point differential. And so I decided to plot that out. And when you first plot it on the line graph, it doesn't really show anything, right? It's on top is the orange line is Frank's minutes, and the bottom line is the New York Knicks point differential, and it just you can't really make anything of it. If you're really trying to find relationship, this line graph is not the best way to do it. Sometimes if you find something that has a strong relationship, sometimes the line graph does kind of like, it helps drive that point home. But if you're looking for a visual representation of whether or not Frank's minutes helps us, like, increase or point differential, the best thing to do is to do a scatter plot, and that's what I did here. And so basically, on this graph is not very well labeled. I'm sorry about that, guys. But if you notice, there's numbers in the middle here going up and down, and that's the y-axis, and so that there is the number of minutes Frank played, and then on the x-axis you can see is basically the point differential. And so on the left-hand side is -50, and all the way to the right-hand side is +30. And so um, all of our point differentials in 2019, 2020 falls within this line. Um, I don't want to get too much into statistics and, like, and I just want to kind of show quick visual representation of what the numbers look like. But essentially, like I said, this is I plotted Frank's minutes against the point differential, and this is what you have. It's just kind of like a big old blob. It doesn't really tell you anything. You can't tell me anything by looking at these dots. Now, if Frank's minutes did have an impact on the point differential, then we may be able to see something that's, that kind of goes where the dots are sort of like falling, going from like lower left towards and um, going up to the top right, right? But that's not what's happening. And so, kind of wanted to find a different way to look at it. I was like, okay, maybe it's different. Maybe Frank plays better at home than away, or maybe he plays better away. And so I decided to split up uh, to basically uh, resort the data. So I'm resorting Frank's minutes and the New York Knicks point differential, and I'm resorting it by the games they played at home, and versus basically the games they played away. And so the numbers highlighted in yellow are basically the home games. And so if you look at the graph on the left-hand side, it got plotted there, and it was essentially the same thing. You can't really tell anything by looking at this. Same thing with the away games. You can't tell by looking at it at all. You can't tell anything by looking at these graphs, right? And so I think a better way to look at it, I figured a better way to drive the point home was to basically to sort the point differential. Wanted to sort it in uh, from largest to smallest, right? And so the largest point differential we had during this, basically inner games that was played at home to the lowest point differential, basically when we lost the game or we got blown out, essentially, to just kind of see like if we see something. So if you look at this blue line, this is the point differential from largest to the lowest number. And so obviously you see it's the trend is going down, right? Um, and so when I resorted it this way, right, uh, it kind of helps drive the point home to show that basically when I resorted it this way, it helps drive the point home that Frank's minutes, which is on top, this orange line, which is on top, it shows that essentially doesn't really have any impact on the team's point differential uh, for the games that they play. And so, if it really was going to have an impact, you would have noticed that his minutes would have kind of like dwindled, right? And so it would have been following. It could have been okay. It could have stayed jagged as it is right now, but it should have been trending down. So as we lost, as as our point differential got worse, his minutes over the course of the season also should have got worse, and so that line should have been shifting down towards the blue line. But essentially that's not the case. And so again, this is here. This is for the full season. On this line here, I didn't differentiate between the home games and the home games from the away games. I just kind of did the whole season, and it kind of gives you the same, basically gives you the same visualization or the same. Um, you kind of get the same picture. And again, I apologize. I kind of rushed on this, and so I'm sorry that I'm flipping back. I mean, essentially, it looks like I'm flipping back and forth with the colors. Am I flipping back and forth with the colors? Let's go back and see. Okay, this is the differential. Okay. So, yeah, I think I may have been flipping back and forth. So, but either way, so essentially I plotted this here. So this is for the full season, as I said, and it kind of gives you the same. It gives you the same picture. The orange line is the Knicks differential. So if I highlight it, if you notice, it highlights the numbers here. New York Knicks point differential. And when I click on the blue line, it shows you Frank's minutes essentially. Right. Let me just extend this out a little bit so it's easier to see. And let me get rid of this right here. Don't want to confuse anyone. So yeah, so again, this is essentially the graph for the whole season. On top, you have Frank's minutes, right? If you see it goes jagged up and down, it was up and down the whole season. His minutes were definitely very inconsistent, but when you compare it against like the New York Knicks point differential, again, I had it sorted the opposite direction. I had it sorted by the largest, actually, no, in the same direction. I had it sorted by the largest point differential to the lowest point differential we had during the season. And so, as you see, it goes from around 24 points here all the way down to the lowest uh, point differential. We had the lowest was 37 points. So we lost again by 37 points. But that's not the point. The whole point is essentially if Frank's minutes, if he truly was going to have an impact on the teams, on basically on our outcome, we would have been seeing this blue line shift a little further down. as the point differential got worse and worse, we should have seen Frank's minutes also dwindle. But you don't see that, and so there's really I know he's only one player, and so it's very difficult to say one player, especially as limited as Frank, is going to, have an impact on the game. And but that's the whole point, right? And that's what we're trying to prove, um, because he's not that kind of player that's going to be able to have that kind of impact on the game. And this graph sort of basically bears it out. And so the other thing you could do, there's essentially there's something called correlation test you can do, where it compares these two numbers, and it kind of does a math on, you do essentially where you do a math on it, and it gives you a score that tells you between between 0 and 1. It tells you how strong of a relationship there is between these two numbers. So if you really truly believe that Frank does have an impact on the games, on the outcome of the games, and the more we play him, the better we're going to do. There's a test you can run. It's called a correlation test. And so if you run those tests, it should give you a score between 0 and 1. And I did that, and essentially it was 0.03. So essentially it says there's no relationship between the number of minutes Frank got in 2019-2020 season and the team's performance. And when I say performance, I mean the point differential. And so, yeah, this is essentially, yep, this is essentially the video. That's what I want to tell you guys. This was a little disappointing. I'm going to look into the previous season, the 2018-2019 season, to see what that looked like, to see if the numbers look any different. But like I said, it's I doubt it. I doubt if the numbers look different. Then it's a little difficult to basically to say someone like Frank, who's he is pretty limited, and and with the minimal amount of minutes he's been getting, it's very difficult to say that he's actually having an impact on the game. And so, but the 2019 2020 numbers definitely shows that he doesn't have an impact on the team's ability to win ball games. At least not at this moment. At least not with the numbers that I'm looking at. If I see something else different, I'll definitely make sure I update it. But thank you guys so much for watching. Please give me a thumbs up. Please like this video and subscribe. And hopefully I'll make another video in a couple of days. Thanks.